Person or living being? So when I ask that question to people, are you a person or are you a living, breathing man or woman? Usually there's a pause. And they go, I think I'm a living, breathing man or woman. And they say kind of like, I think I am most times, or I am a living, breathing, but there is a sense, a little bit of doubt, because we've been so well trained to be a person. And who trained us? Who trained us to be a person? We were educated. We were educated to be a person. And you might go, well, what's the big deal that I'm a person? I'm a person. I'm a, human being. And it's all about the language. When you realize the words that you speak have a force and have an energy and even a vibration and attachment to creating, you start to pay attention, because you will be paying with some of the words you use. So you want to get what you're speaking if you want to transform your world. So when I work with individuals in healing, that's really what I'm doing, because everybody uses different words. They describe themselves differently. So it's their words, their thoughts, right? So I am like the fine tuner of their words. Do those work for them and their energy? In the legal system, they've done the same thing. So lawful over here, lawful is just that we will love each other. Love always wins. We will take care of each other. We will respect each other. Naturally, it's like a children's awe and amazement. They just want to go with the flow. We want to care for each other. It's just natural. It's ingrained in us. Over here, we have this legal system that has basically set up the rules on paper of how our world will work. One of those is generally everybody feels that, you need to send your kid to school. Now, for those that look deeper, there's usually, oh no, you could homeschool or you could unschool. But the predominant thought pattern is you want your child to get a good education. Because when you have your child get a good education, they get a better job or career. And therefore they, have a better life, because the more they know, it's a valuable resource. It expands your mind on the world. However, consider that it's the world they want you to be educated in to comprehend. So I was speaking with someone the other day, and he said, even as a kid, he was like, oh my gosh, this doesn't make sense what they're teaching. I just want out of here. And I'm sure there's many boys or men that used to be boys that have told you the same thing. They never liked being at school. They never liked sitting in the chair. They wanted to get out. They wanted to build. They wanted to create. They wanted to play. They wanted to do things. Yet they needed to be educated. When they were going, I just want to work on tractors, or I just want to work on the computer. I want to play around and figure it out. No, we need to educate you on the his story. We want to educate you in certain ways of being. So you are so well trained subconsciously, you regurgitate the words and the his story of how life is. It's why it's so, even in there, it's like the Bible. You need to know the word of God. And I've said many times to pastors and priests, or, men of women of cloth, whatever you want to call them. So what you're telling me is that someone who never has got a copy of the Bible, who never could even read, isn't going to be able to recognize God? The only way you're going to recognize God is to know the Word of God, to read the Word of God. There isn't something innately in you that opens up and resonates with someone that says, this is how God is. This is what feels true to me. So being lawful is honoring what I am feeling in my inner, because when I'm honoring that, then I'm resonating with what is truly the divinity within me. When I'm acting within these rules that don't make sense to me sometimes, they're manipulated. That's why we have so many lawyers and their interpretation, and why cases take so long, because one says, oh, no, I could interpret this way. The other one says, no, I can interpret it that way. And then they argue back and forth. Am I the prosecutor? I'm the defendant. And we've all heard stories, or maybe you even know somebody that has been maybe wrongly accused, wrongly convicted, because even in their words in the legal system, it's guilty or not guilty. I had this conversation with someone yesterday. Guilty or innocent? And the officer looked at me, and I said, yeah, have you ever noticed you guys just have guilty or not guilty? You still have that guilty vibe that you're actually asking someone to say when they're innocent. They're innocent. They're innocent. They're saying they're innocent. You're disagreeing with them. That's your job then to, so-called in your system, to prove it. It's not their job to prove they're innocent. Right? Well, they are in their system. They have to prove it. Over here, lawful is, it's relating to a man or a woman, a human being to a human being, a living, breathing, sentient being to a living, breathing, sentient being. Over here, you're a person. You're a person, if you want to look it up, it relates to your birth certificate identity. So that's really what they're saying. Are you this, and you've been trained your name, right? You've been trained your name. Who are you? I'm this person. I'm this person. See what I'm saying? I'm this person. Yep, that's me. And you respond your name. It's habitual. Did you do it all through school? Yes. You raised your hand? Yes. Is it you? Yes. You wrote your name on the paper? Yes. You identified with your name. Has anybody ever changed their name? Yes. For history, women change their name. People change their name. People changed their name when they came from World War. They were Jewish, and they immigrated from Europe to North America because they didn't want to be affiliated with being Jewish. So they changed their name. They wanted to be, because they were being persecuted. First Nations or Native Americans or the Métis have been hiding in a sense in the closet like so many homosexuals did way back in the 70s and 80s, and there's probably still people that are doing it because they were being persecuted. And they weren't being persecuted just by individuals like you and I. They were being persecuted by the legal system. Generations and generations have been persecuted by the legal system, by the gentlemen wearing uniforms or the women now that are working for the policymakers that decide who is going to enforce what. That's what they're doing. They're enforcing policy. They're enforcing acts and statutes on paper. Lawfulness has to do with real existing face-to-face you and I. And I want to do my best, and I want to be in honor with you and alignment with you. That's how individuals work when they're heart to heart, face to face, eye to eye. Over here, we never have even, we have a lawyer that represents the person on paper to say, this paper is who you're accusing of, and these are all the rules on paper. And you can say, no, that person is you. No, we've been trained that person on paper is you. But is that you? Are you the paper? Because you can write up another paper that says I'm something else, right? So does that paper count? Change your name. Is that who I am? Am I still the paper? I'm a living, breathing woman, first and foremost. And many people have different names, nicknames. They even are called things that maybe they are unappreciative of. The sense that you're your identity as a person is a legal construct. It is something you have been educated in. And if you're going, that's just the way it is, that's okay. That's just the way it is. If you actually get this and resonate with this, it's going to open up a whole other door for you to see how you've been trained from the moment you started this life. Your parents trained you based on what they knew. Now, here on the island, very, very fortunate that so many people are still down to earth and grounded in nature. They're grounded in the farm and in the oceans and the water and the practicalities of day-to-day life. Where if you've grown up in, let's say, Singapore, in massive wealth and in a sort of in the city center there, you might have all you've seen is maybe cement, right? And purchase things. I was one of those people that I never knew there were seasons to vegetables until I was like, I don't know, maybe 28, 29, 30, because I always went to the grocery store and everything was in the grocery store. So everybody's in the right place at the right time for what new information you want to come. That's why they call it the information age, because there's so much information out there and it resonates differently with each one of us. And if you just start to look at your own body and resonate what's here, are you living, breathing, or are you a person? Which one feels better for you? Are you living, breathing, or are you a person? And as you start to just allow that, if you identify that you're living and breathing and that you're, okay, yeah, this is who I am. I'm living, breathing woman first that can be called many different things. Okay? But this wants to love. That's the law. Love always wins on land, air, water. It was our creators, our God-given rights, Allah, unified field. This is the existence of life, is to live life and have the experience being lawful, being loving, and never wanting to harm another. And if we do, we want to be held responsible and accountable for it. Over here in this fictitious system, it's all corporations. And you might want to look up, is your country a corporation? Is your city a corporation? Because I can see, and I've learned, that the policing service is a service corporation. The city is a corporation. The so-called province is a corporation. And the country is a corporation. Corporations by nature have limited liability. That's why people come together and incorporate, so the individuals don't have to take responsibility. It's complete opposite to what's natural, but that's normal. Normal has been this well-trained, executed system, and when I was in it, I was under the influence of it, right? Like totally, and still affected by it, because it's the awakening of seeing, oh my gosh, I thought this was the truth. I thought this was real. So his story is going to be completely different than her story, because her story is about nurturing and caring and loving and taking care of and cooperation and collaboration and connection. And there's a lot of men, so just to be clear, there are a lot of men that have known this since the beginning of time. It's not just a her as in feminine. I'm just using the analogy between the history, the masculine, and now we're into the, if you want to do the, the two become one. We're in this vibration, 2021, right? Okay, that we're in this vibration or time or this moment, because that's all we have, is that we're recognizing what feels authentically true. And one of those examples for me was sent out rippling through the TV waves last night, when the lead best gymnast of all time in the sports world in the US, she lost her timing doing her vault. So it was like she was mentally not there. She knew that, and she then stepped out of the team competition. She's so well trained. She knows her inner body, but yet other people were saying she made the wrong decision. It's like, oh my gosh, because they didn't get a gold then in the US, they only got a silver. But if she stayed there, would they still have only got a silver? Like, it's unridiculous. But she decided that her body, she knew her body well enough to say, I am not at the level that I'm supposed to be at. And she stepped out, because when she stepped out and took a stand for herself, she took a stand for the team. It's a completely different message than what we're being told over here now. It's like, if you care about everybody else in the pandemic, you'll get the vaccine. No, it's when you take care of yourself and you're authentically aligned, your vibration increases and the light expands out from you, and it affects everybody else. So, as I said to the premier here the other day, is that those, as he was watching in the Pride March, that everyone in the Pride March, or not everybody, but they're honoring that. But if you had an inner feeling that you were attracted to the same sex, but society was telling you differently, did they have to go to a doctor to be told what they were feeling inside? No. In fact, the medical community ostracized those with people with AIDS in the 80s. There was a conversation that if you touched them, you could get AIDS, right? This went on for a long time. And it was, from my perspective, when Lady Diana held the hand, I guess she was still Princess then, Princess Diana at the hand of an AIDS patient, and she started touching them and she started working with them. And the media, which is part of this system over here, if they wanted to get Lady Diana's photos, they had to take that photo. So she was creating imagery that it was safe, that it was okay. And so being aligned with yourself can create new openings. You can still have bumpy roads to get there. That's all that's happening. You're waking up to your own power, your own being in alignment, just like Simone did yesterday and said, no, I am not 100%. So I'm stepping out. When you know your body that well, you know when you need to rest. You know when you're guided to step into a place, and you realize that you're a living, breathing, operating, amazing vessel that is so powerful that it is a connection beyond your wildest dreams, and it's going to take you to your heart's desires. Or you can still stay that you're a person and hang out here and experience that, and you can go back and forth. You can try things out because, you know, there are privileges over here. It's totally your experience. There is no right or no wrong because it's your experience, and only you know what you're feeling inside, just like Simone. Only you know what you're feeling, like all those people that said, you know what, I'm attracted to the same sex, or I want to change my gender, right? Only those individuals know what they're feeling. So if we stop pointing a finger and start pointing those three back at ourselves, we realize as we change our inner world, we start to understand what others are going through. We have more compassion and empathy, and we recognize that we all truly are living, breathing, just like nature all around us. The water, the air, the plants, the animals. It's a living ecosystem, and it's all coming into full blossoming. And it's an amazing time for all of us. So enjoy it. I love you, and thrive.